Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. This week I want to do something a little bit different because a box set that I have been anticipating for quite a while now is finally out. That's right, I picked up Underworlds Direchasm from my friendly local game store this weekend because it released, and I thought it would be cool to show it off to you guys, open it up, look at all the cards, look at all the cool miniatures, and take a peek at exactly what comes in this box. So without further ado, let's go ahead and head to my hobby space and take a look at what comes in Warhammer Underworlds Direchasm. Alright, so I am back at my hobby desk, and I think it is time for us to open this Underworlds box set for Direchasm. Here is, of course, the front and everything, the ultimate competitive miniatures game, which, you know, honestly, I understand the marketing, ploy behind that, but it feels like it kind of puts down their other miniature games a little bit, because they have, that's all they do is miniature games, right? Whatever. It's a great game. I am excited to open it. We're going to enter the depths of Direchasm and prove your primacy in furious combat. My goodness. All right. It looks like we're getting a lot of stuff. We're going to be getting miniatures, cards, the board, the rules, all of that stuff. Let's go ahead and open this box and get to it. I also made sure to bring over a knife for myself in case I have trouble getting, all of this plastic off, which is what I was expecting. So let's go ahead and take everything out of the box starting first, and then we will take a look at the individual components. So we've got some tokens and what looks like the board, our rulebook, of course, our miniatures, which are the things that I am definitely the most excited about. We'll take a deeper look at those in a second. And then a whole ton of cards, as well as the unique dice for this game, because they do use a unique set of dice. And so we'll take a look at those as well. And normally there's nothing underneath these, no. So they just have this nice little insert. I actually really like these out of these box sets because I actually use them for backdrops when I'm doing photos and everything for my miniatures. And this one being just a very honestly, amorphous red mixture and everything, I'm actually very excited for this. This might be very useful for me. So bonus, hooray. All right, let's go ahead and start by looking at the miniatures because I think that is honestly the coolest thing in here. So we're gonna set all this other stuff a little bit off to the side, and we'll start with our two factions. So I know that this set comes with the Lumineth Realmlords, which is this one here. I'm assuming this lighter color is probably them. And from the looks of it, yes. So we've got some bows, some very elfy headpieces. Here is the here is the cool guy with the owl. So I think this is his yoga pose. Yep, there it is. Let me flip it over so we can actually get a look at his adorable little face. There is the owl. This is my favorite miniature that they've done for the Lumineth Realmlords so far, and it is purely because it does not have that much of the steer horn motif, and it just, I don't know, I wish they had gone with owls. That is my biggest complaint with them, is I just wish they had done some other thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm very happy with this. This is one of the main reasons I got this set, was because I wanted to have at least this one cool guy from the new elf faction that didn't really look like it fit that faction. I can use him for other things. So we've got them, and now the true reason I actually bought this set. I wanted the Hedonites of Slaanesh out of here because I thought they were really cool looking. I am excited for all of the various Slaanesh stuff that is coming out right now for GW, because there's going to be this. I know that there's some Warcry stuff I think that's coming as well. And then there is, I think, an Underworld set actually. One of the other Underworld set, I think it might also be for Slaanesh. I can't remember specifically, but there's a lot of Slaanesh stuff coming out right now, and I'm very excited for it also. Here are our Slaanesh guys. They are looking pretty cool. I definitely plan on building these up very, very soon. You will probably see Instagram photos of these guys on Monday when this video goes live, of me having at least got them built and everything. So we'll see how that goes. But those are our miniatures. I'm very excited for them. But let's go ahead now and look at some of this other stuff, because, I mean, it's not just about the minis. This is a full game that has rules and all of that and other components. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that play this, and I'm actually very interested in picking it back up, because I played it a little bit in the past, oh my goodness, I think almost 2 years ago now. but I have not played it in a long time. So I thought that getting this set would actually be very good for that. And you can now see these dice in 2 places. So we've got the unique dice. We're gonna take a look at them. They have the lightning symbol, this swirl symbol, and then an exclamation mark with a like little BAM logo around it. And it looks like that repeats. And I'm assuming that the various colors are going to be, if I remember correctly, it's like defense, casting, and attacking, if I remember correctly. I'll check it out when I take a look at the rules. So that's on the blue dice. That's for casting, I believe. I believe the black dice are your defense, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is because this looks like a shield to me. So we've got shield symbols on the black die. We have the same repeated exclamation. I think that's a critical, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's a critical, and I think this is your miss symbol. So that, oh, and then this one is, I don't actually know what that one is. Maybe that is a dodge. I'm not 100% sure. I do think you can move in this game in combat and everything like that. So that is cool. We've got those symbols. There's 3 of those and 3 of the blue dice. And then your primary die, which I think is your attack die, your just like normal attack, is your white dice. So they give you 5 of these. You've got your hammer symbol, and that repeats a few times. You've got your double sword symbol. We've got what I think is your miss symbol. And then we've got, of course, your, I think, crit symbol again. So that is that. And it looks pretty evenly spread. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at all of these cards. Let me grab my blade because I prepared for this. I'm glad that they do this so that you can just cut straight into the plastic without really having to worry about it because the cardboard will protect your cards. That is a nice benefit. It also keeps them nice and flat and prevents them from getting bowed. And oh, good. I was worried for a second when I was opening these that they were just going to slide everywhere, but no, they did in fact put a little plastic sleeve. Let me try that sentence again. They put a little plastic sleeve to help prevent them from sliding. So it looks like we've got 3 decks. This is probably our Slaanesh one because it's got the Slaanesh symbol. This is probably our Lumineth Realmlords one, and this looks like it is a generic, because I do think you can mix in generic cards with your decks, because this is a partially deck building game, which is really cool. It's one of the reasons I like it. I'm actually a huge fan of deck builders. I like Ascension. I don't play a lot of Dominion, but I've played some Dominion. Clank is one that I've not tried, but this is also a deck building game. It has that sort of mechanic in it. So let's go ahead and start with the generics, and then we'll move on to the other 2, the faction specific. So we'll start with these. These are your extra cards. Do not open this until you have played a few games. All right, well, I'm gonna break that rule here so that you guys can see them. But under normal circumstances, you would not want to open this until you've played a couple rules, because this will allow you to, as they say, construct new decks for your warbands. So we're gonna go ahead and look through these. All I'm going to do for reading these cards is I'm not going to read through every single one, because dear gosh, that would take forever. But I'm going to read the titles of them, and if you guys want to take a closer look, feel free to pause the video and explore them as you like. So we've got Pirate, and I'm probably going to pronounce some names of these. I'm just going to say that right now. I get tongue-tied a little bit, so I apologize if I mispronounce any of these words or names of anything in this. All right, we're ready. Pyromancy. Dauntless Aspect. Let's see. And then let me just make sure I keep you in focus. So Dauntless Aspect. Ferocious Blow. Ferocious Lunge. Ferocious Resistance. Hungry Advance. Hungry Bolt. Hunting Season. Hypnotic Aspect. Slick Rock. Thrill of the Hunt. Earthing Staff. Fearsome Trappings. Formidable Defense. Hungry Armor. Master of Spoils. Prey Skin Mask. Ooh, that's a little terrifying. Savage Speed. Savage Strength. Soul Tooth Bow. Soul Tooth Spear. Okay, so I'm not gonna keep reading the names, I'll let you guys see them, but I've realized what this deck is and I just want to keep talking about it as I go through them. So this appears to be the updated cards for all of the other factions that you'll be seeing in the game or other warbands that they've already put out for it, which makes total sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that before opening this. But yeah, so these are cards for the other factions, because some of these look like they were specific to the Daughters of Cain, for example. I know those first ones were specific to one of the orc sets that I know that I've built or on the channel, I think, or at least not showed off on the channel. So there's that. So that's what these all are, which is really cool. It's nice that they provide these updates. It makes sense. This is the beginning of the next season for Underworld, so they want to make sure everybody is starting on an even playing field who has product already. Obviously, when it comes to the other sets that they're going to be releasing later on, those will include these cards, and honestly, I'll probably pick up a few of those to do an unboxing if you guys enjoy this and want to see more of this kind of thing. Those are smaller kits, so they go a little faster and everything. There's not quite as many cards to go through with them, but that is something that I'm interested in doing. So that is the first deck, which is the updated cards for some of the other factions that are playable in Underworlds for Direchasm. Now let's go ahead and look at the one that starts with, you know what, we're actually going to do the Lumineth Realmlords first, because I'm going to save the Slaaneshi boys till the end. So let's go ahead and take a look at this deck. So this is going to be the one for Mariah's Purifiers. Myari's? I don't know. I'm mispronouncing it. Like I said, I apologize. But the Purifiers, so this is the Lumineth Realmlords faction with the bird boy, whom I really like. So let's take a look at his cards. So there's first, we're going to take a look, because this one is actually built a little bit differently. This one has the specific miniatures that you have in there. This is their stats and everything. So these are the cards that you'd be using for basically the stats for your minis. So we've got Aline Inspired. And I think, yes, these are double-sided. I'm sorry, I was showing you the, there's two phases that these minis can be in the game. I was showing you the more advanced side. So let's start with actually Sonella, who it looks like an archer or a hunter. These are, I believe, their stats that they need for rolling and everything like that. They've got some specific rules, and then when you flip her over, she becomes inspired. That is what it is called when they basically get buffed, essentially. And so when they become inspired, they just get slightly better stats. They can do a little bit more with their abilities and everything, and it's a cool little mechanic that I really like. So that is hers. Here is our main guy, Myari Lightcaller. I wonder if his bird can do anything. Probably not. And then here is his inspired side. Let's get that, make sure that's focused for you guys. Sorry about that. All right, and then we've got Bahanar, which seems more like one of his supports. He's got one of the hammer guys. These guys confuse me for the high elves, or for elves in general, because I just really don't associate hammers at all with elves. So this faction just continues to be very weird for me. But I mean, it's a cool mini. Like, I really like the look of it, I guess. I just don't understand it on a lore concept. And then here is the first one we were looking at, Alina, the Mind's Edge. She looks like she is wielding a greatsword, which is pretty badass. And here is her inspired side, which I think is the card we started on. So those are the 4 miniatures that are going to be, that we saw on the sprues. They are really cool. Now let's go ahead and look at the deck and look at some of what their abilities are that you can actually have them be doing in the game. So we've got Channel Mountain, Channel the River. Ooh, let me, there we go. Channel the Wind. So these all seem to be elemental, which is cool. That kind of makes sense. That's sort of what they are designed around. Channel the Zenith. Dazzling Light. Flicker of Light. Lambent Light. Surety of Purpose. If I could read, it would help. Tectonic Force. I mean, I get it. It makes sense. They're oxen. It just, I don't know. I just don't think of strength as the statistic that I would apply to elves. I would think it would be dex or agility, and it just, I don't know. It's very weird. Untouchable Pride, Balanced Soul, Heartstone Amulet. Like, at least they captured the classic, I feel like, high elf regalness with these ones really, really well. They definitely have that sort of hoity-toity, pompous air to them with all the blues, golds, and yellows, like, oh my god, I've completely forgotten his name, even though I played him literally in Total War, like, not that long ago. Teclis's brother, whose name I have forgotten and can't remember right now. Like, they have that look of, like, the old world high elves, but it just doesn't feel quite right for, I don't know, what they are and everything. They do seem to have some really cool cards, though. And I do like, I mean, I'm liking the art. Interesting. Mountain's Gift? Mountain's Gift? Tyrion! That was his name! I couldn't remember it. Yes, Tyrion. Like, so they have, like, that's actually, the bird guy kind of has, not actually a Tyrion vibe, but sort of. And it's one of the reasons that I do still like them minus the horns. It's really just that I don't get. Speed of Heish? I hope I pronounced that correctly. Veneer Dagger. Diamond Bright Souls. How very dramatic. I don't recognize this style of card from when I played previously. I don't know if it's just that I have not played in a super long time, which is very valid, or that it's just a new mechanic that they've added, because I think the edition I played was the first one, so it's been quite a while since I've played this game at all. But I am really liking looking through it and looking into the concept of this deck building mechanic, because it's really, really cool. Plus, I do like the boards. They're small, so it's nice because you can kind of bring this one around a little bit more easily than, say, you can Warhammer or even Age of Sigmar if you're an Age of Sigmar player, because I feel like you might be more likely that if you're playing this game, because it's an Age of Sigmar, you know, part of the Age of Sigmar line and everything like that. But obviously, you can take this more easily and play it, like, during lunch or something at work, or just, like, have a quick game at the end of the day, like with a friend or something like that. And it doesn't take a huge amount of time, when, say, like Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40k sometimes can, which is the nice benefit to some of these alternative miniature games that GW puts out. Plus, it's a nice way to collect slightly unique miniatures and get some, like, it allows them, like, as a company, to explore different sculpts and do other things and create content without having to super heavily invest into their main franchise and allow it to just be a supplemental add-on that they can then add character data sheets to, like, you know, for the main game and everything based off these characters, which is always really cool, and I do think that they do that for these. And our last card, Vaunted Speed. So that is the deck for the Lumineth Realmlords. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the deck for the Dread Pageant, which is such a cool name. I love the Slaanesh, like, naming schemes. I really just like the Chaos naming schemes in general. It's one of the reasons I play Death Guard. But we are going to have the Dread Pageant. Open this when you play the first game. It includes your fighter cards, the objective deck, and the power deck. Oh, if I had read that previously, we would have known that on the Lumineth Realmlord. I apologize. You guys probably saw it and were going, Angela, if you would just read the card, you would know what this is. I have done it now. All right, so we've got that. Let's take a look at our fighters. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So sorry about that. They misorganized them slightly. How dare you, GW? Let's flip them over. Here is Vasilak, the Gifted. Let's make sure he's in focus for you. Vasilak the Gifted. And here is his... I do like, by the way, I didn't point it out, but they do have the pictures of what the miniature is so that you can help identify which one it is. Because sometimes they, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell because they look very similar, especially with, like, the, not the main guys, because those ones are really obvious to tell, but the other guys, like some of these, well, not him, because he's a demon and he's very obvious to see, but, like, some of these other guys might be a little harder to tell. Like, for example, on the Lumineth Realmlords, I don't know if, I would have told the archers apart, for example. All right, so that is Vasilak the Gifted's front side of his card. Let's go ahead and take a look at his inspired card. And yeah, I do like that they have the paint. Oh, I didn't even notice on the other ones. Speaking of the that little figure that they had there, they have the painted version on the back side, so it gives you even inspiration for how you might want to paint your miniature. The Slaanesh color scheme honestly tends to work really well for me. It's a lot of purples and pinks, which I very much like. Although these guys are very blue. in their artwork and everything, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit different from what they normally do. So that's his card. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of his buddies. This miniature here, this demon, is the other main reason that I wanted to get this set, because I'm going to grab the miniatures real quick just to show you guys again, because we didn't really talk about it specifically, but this guy's leg, sorry, I was making sure it was in focus. This guy's leg, I just like his dumb, like, goat legs and his face, and it just, I love it. It's that mini, and then the main guy in this was the, and then on top of that with the Lumineth guy with the bird. That's the main reason I got this set. But let's go back to his card and finish taking a look at him. So here is his first side, here is his inspired side, and he is Slakeslash. What a great name, Slakeslash. Kind of hard to say, actually, because of the double S's, and I have problems with that sometimes. We also have Hadzu. Also a awesome name. I actually like that a lot. Here is his inspired side, or yes, I think. I don't know. Might be a boy, might be a girl. This one I think is more a girl. And we have Glossary. Oh, let me make sure she's in focus for you there. Sorry about that. So Glossary, that's honestly pretty cool. And here is her inspired side. She is a guard. Nice. All right, so those are our fighters. We get 4 in each one, and I think that's pretty standard actually for Underworlds. Most of the kits, like the expansion kits that you can get and everything, tend to have, I think, usually 4 minis in them, 4 to 5, depending on what they are and which factions it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at, I'm assuming the different colors, that's what they meant when they talked about the objectives. I'm assuming this is objectives. This is going to be your power deck, and this is what you actually use in the game and everything. So let's first take a look at our objectives deck. We've got Beautiful Death, which is always an objective of Slaanesh. Cavalcade of Madness. Endless Revel. Make sure you guys are seeing those. Excess of Avidity. Excess of Carnality. Excess of Gluttony. Feels very Nurgle a little bit. Excess of Indolency. Interesting. Excess of Paramountcy. They have a lot of excess of things. I mean, it is Slaanesh. She is she who thirsts. Excess of Vainglory. Godseeker. Grisly Tableau, and scintillating sadism. Sorry, that is scintillating. God, I can't read today at all. Scintillating sadism, and also a lot of S's, in which I do struggle with. So that one is very cool as well. So that is our objectives. Now let's take a look at our actual deck for gameplay. We've got Boned Bodyguard, Cruel Pangs, Dark Desires, Deadly Embrace, Enraviating Perfume, Fueled by Sensation, Lure of Slaanesh, Rush of Sensations, Shared Pain, Vicious Barbs, Cruel Volley, Dance Without End, Distracting Ostentation, Mark of the Dark Prince, Sadistic Goad, Sickening Resilience, Soporific Musk, Strength from Pain, Swift as Desire, and Sword Shatter. Because I had to say it with a weird accent there. But those are our cards for the Slaanesh deck. Very exciting. Lots of difficult words for me to pronounce because of S's, and there's lots of them. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the Warband, so the actual build guide for everything that tells us the rules. Let me grab my blade and actually get this open. Hopefully don't cut to the pages. Oh, I'm still gonna struggle. There we go. I've defeated you, plastic. All right, so we've got our Direchasm rulebook, which I'm going to go ahead and flip through for you guys. I'm going to actually see if I can set it. Let me clear a little bit of space here. Get some of my excess products out of the way. There we go. All right, we don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and take a look at our rule book. I'm going to try to hold this up and get as little glare as possible, but I apologize, there probably will be some. So we have an introduction, which is quite long, and I'm not going to read fully, but it's a nice introduction to Direchasm and setting up the current, I think, narrative that is going through the game and everything that kind of keeps everything tied together. Talks a little bit about the Call of the Mountain, so giving you some backstory to your factions that you get in this group. Talks about primal emotion. This seems to be, yes, more basically lore building and talking about where basically everybody is, because like this is one of the other factions. We saw some of their cards in there. The Starblood Stalkers are as well, or no, these are the ones that are coming actually. Because this is the Lizardman one that I think is slated for February. And then the Ravagers are actually the Slaves to Darkness one that I'm really interested in. That is coming out, I think, in January, if release schedules don't change or anything like that. So that is really cool. I'm very excited for that. So this is probably leading up to those, talking about where they are in everything. So then this is what is actually talking about the two factions that we've got in here. I do like the juxtaposition of the blue-yellow of the Lumineth Realmlords in juxtaposed to the like pinkish purple dark colors of the Slaanesh. I'm going to set this down. All right, so now we have our introduction to the game. So this goes over the objectives of the game, what to do before you play. I'm going to show one side first, and then we'll show the other side just so you guys can get a little bit of a better look at the actual text. So it talks about like what the Warband is. It goes over your fighter cards, which is what we saw before. So it shows, you know, the name, what all of these stats and everything mean, what the abilities are doing, and what the difference between one side and then the inspired side is. And it does explain down here what inspired is specifically. Let's see if I can get that to focus a bit better. There we go. So that is that. We're now going to flip over, and it talks about the various decks. So it goes over deck building and how to do that. Goes over the various upgrade cards, gambit cards, etc. All of that goodness. And then, of course, any additional rules that might be needed. We then have the battlefield, which we have not looked at the board yet, but we'll be getting to that soon. So it talks about the battlefield, what the hexes mean, because there's some various styles. You can actually have terrain pieces for this game. I have almost never seen anybody actually use, I think, the miniatures. I think there's miniatures at least. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but I swear, yeah, there are miniatures for this game that you can use as the terrain to basically, because I think there's some like line of sight and all that. There's some blank spaces on the boards. I have never seen anybody use them, and I have literally played with GW. I don't even think they had them at their demo, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because that's when I played it for the first time. Like, I played it at a conference that I was at for work, because I'm the buyer for the store that I work at, and so I was at a GW panel, I think it was, and they were demoing Underworlds, and I sat down and I played around. I played a game with it with one of my coworkers, thought it was really cool, and I don't even think they had the terrain there. That blows my mind. You would think that that would be something that they'd want to do, but very weird. So moving on, we're going to go into actually playing the game. So it talks about setup and the various rounds, and then victory. So you reveal your warband, you place your board, and then you have a variety of roll-offs determining who begins and all of that kind of stuff. It goes over your various dice and what they mean. So I was correct, or at least I was remembering correctly. It is a critical success here. This is your attack symbol. That's right, there's a difference between Smash and Fury, which are just two different types of attacks, and certain characters, I think, can do the different types, much in the same way that like RPGs have like melee versus ranged, etc. And then these are support symbols. So they weren't misses like I thought they were, but they're support symbols. I don't remember specifically what those do. I will have to read the rules to figure it back out. And then yes, the black dice are in fact your defense. So again, critical success, defense symbol, I was right, dodge, and then your support symbols. And then of course you've got your blue dice, which are your magic dice, and you've got your channel, focus, and critical success. Next, it talks about placing features and lethal tokens, drawing cards, placing the fighters, and then it moves on into our action phase, which begins with a move action if you want. You can push, there's lots of cool things that you can do to your opponent, or obviously moving yourself. Talks about the attack action and uses the cards to give you a nice visual aid of what they're talking about and what they're referencing, which is always nice. I do really like when games do that. Visual aids are always very useful and very helpful when you open a game like this, because if you're a new player and you open this might be a little overwhelming. I mean, this is a probably a 20-page rulebook, because obviously I don't really count the basically, I start from the introduction page, is where I would consider the rules to begin and everything, and that's pretty dense. Like, if you were a new player and you had no idea what you were getting into, but you want to play a miniature game, this has a lot of rules, but they have enough, I think, visual aid to really help you get through it and actually learn the game successfully and have it still be pretty easy, which is always great. So we've got, again, like I said, we're drawing cards, we're having our action phase, we're moving. This is where we were. We were talking about the attack action. So we've got that. We go through a nice combat sequence to sort of give you an idea of what that is going to look like, especially if you're a new player. We then have the driven back. It talks about support and what that means, so that would help identify the symbols on the dice and everything. We go into then damage and the attack action, out of action, if something is healing, which is nice, you can heal in this game. Talks about scything, which I actually don't know what that is, but that sounds kind of cool. I'm very interested. You've got your charge action, you've got your guard action, you've got your spell casting, which is fun. I know when I played, I ended up having a deck that was very spell focused, and it was a lot of fun to play. The power step talks about your gambit cards and other various upgrade cards. And then it talks about sequencing, so like when you're doing things. And then it goes over a variety of modifiers that can affect your gameplay, as well as the beginning of reactions, which continues on to the next page, followed by scatter. It's gotten a lot more complex than I remember. I definitely feel, or the GW employees just did a really good job of succinctly explaining it, because I don't feel like they had quite this much happening when I played it originally. And then, of course, it follows on with the end phase and dealing with your objective cards, as well as going on to play rounds 2 and 3 and onwards to victory, which is what everybody wants. And then finally, there are some alternative rules for matched play, so doing competitive, because there is quite the competitive scene for this game, actually. I have not looked into it at all, personally, but I know that it is pretty huge. With the thing that I was actually at, they had a tournament literally at that conference, and that all of the stores, if they wanted to, were allowed to participate in and everything. I unfortunately was not staying there the length of time of when the tournament was happening, because it was on like the last day, and I think I left that morning and it was happening in the afternoon, so I never ended up participating in it, but I heard it was really cool. I got to take a picture with the championship belt that they had for it, because they actually, it was so good. They actually made a, if you're familiar with wrestling, and other sports, honestly, but I know it mostly from pro wrestling, they have championship belts for the winners, and they made like a full, like really nice, actually, championship belt for the person who won the tournament at this conference. It was really cool. It also talks about multiplayer maps, now that I'm done rambling about my past experiences. And then it continues further to talk a little bit more about that, and adding how basically the game will be slightly different with your various rounds and power setup and everything like that. And then in the very back, kindly enough, they actually give you a glossary of terms, which is really nice. That is always useful because these games tend to have a lot of kind of specific terms that could be slightly similar to things in other games, but they mean something different here, so it allows them to identify all that. And then there is the very back, which gives you a quick reference to your combat sequences, determining success, activation options, round sequence, all of that kind of goodness, which is really cool, actually. This is something that this page you can just have out while you're playing to basically have a quick reference guide. Most board games tend to do that kind of thing. And then beneath that, we have the start here, which we did not do because I was very excited about the miniatures and we wanted to start with those. So no game, we're not going to start here. But this goes over the contents of everything that you're getting in the game, which, okay, maybe I should have started with it. But so we've got the rule book, we've got 2 double-sided game boards, which is cool. We've got our guard tokens, we've got 30 double-sided wound counters. Make sure we're focused. No, don't follow my hand. We've got our 48 double-sided glory point tokens, our double-sided move and charge tokens, our 60 power cards, 36 objective cards, 1 primacy, I can't say that word, card and token, 2 lethal hex tokens, 9 double-sided feature tokens, 1 scatter token. Yeah, this must be new. I don't remember that at all from the previous game. I will have to look into that and actually when I read this rule book and be like, okay, what is that? Because I'm very interested. We've got our double-sided activation tokens, we've got our dice, which we've gone over, and then our 2 decks, which we've also already gone over. But what this also includes is our build guide. So this is something that I will probably be pulling back out later today once I'm finished filming this to actually begin building these guys because I think they're really cool and I just want to get them built up because who knows, I might paint them sometime soon. If you guys would be interested in seeing me paint any of these, let me know down in the comments. It's always cool to see which things you might want to see me take on because there's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's a lot of cool things that I could do. We've got a whole slew of different things to build and I'm very excited for them. And then finally, it gives you your initial tutorial to actually teach you the game and go through the basics, which is good. The main rulebook is for like after you've done this and everything and you want to get into slightly more advanced stuff. So I'll give you guys a little quick look at this so that you guys can just see it. Talks about combat on the next page, as well as the end phase, victory, and then what you do after that. And then it gives you a little bit of detail of your battlefield, and then on the very back, it gives you a painted illustration of what their color scheme for these warbands is, which you can completely ignore if you want, or follow precisely. That is the beauty of the game, and honestly, I mean, they do look really good. Seriously, these are the best looking of the cow elves that they have because there's only one guy with like the really obvious, blatant, kind of in-your-face cow motif because he literally has a cow head on his helmet. That must be really heavy. Like, elves must have really strong necks because they just have so much stuff on their heads all the time. I mean, most of these people do, honestly. Everybody in the Warhammer universe just must have really strong necks. All right, so we've looked at our rules and everything like that. We're going to set those aside and take a look now at some of those tokens and the 2 game boards, because that is basically all we have left to look at. So, all right, so these are our tokens. So we've got 3 sheets of tokens, and honestly, this is a really nice like cardstock. They do have, I'm actually going to punch a couple. Okay, I recently punched Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein, which is a board game that I played recently, and they had very similar tokens of it just popped out of these really nicely. They came out really clean, because in the past, if you've ever popped tokens like this, often they'll get stuck at, you can kind of see it. I'll see if I can get a little closer to the camera. So you see that little like line that's there, it's like in the center. So that usually like, that's the connection point of where these are supposed to sit. And in the past, oh my God, they would get stuck and you'd end up having like torn tokens a lot of the time. And they've just, the technology to make these things has gotten so much better, and I'm very, very grateful. So we've got our tokens, they punch out very nicely. Let's flip these over because they are double-sided. So these are some of your terrain features. These are your glory tokens. Here are some of those gem tokens they were talking about. So we've got them. They're double-sided. I do like this side here. These are really cool looking. These are the, like I said, the terrain things that you can do, and I do think they have physical representations of some of these. I don't know which of them specifically, but they do have them for some. I'm going to put those tokens down so they're not in my hand anymore. Here is the next one. I'm going to hold it this way. So we've got a couple of more of those blockers and everything, and again, it is double-sided. It looks good. Hopefully there's not too much glare or anything for you guys. And the last sheet, again, double-sided. This is your that primal token that they were talking about. And then we've got our game boards, which I'm going to... See, they're really nice. So they're small, and you just put 2 of these together, because like the idea behind this is each person would bring like 1 of these, and you just put them together and be able to play, and you would just determine before the game, you know, which side you guys were going to be using. So this is one side of the first one. Really cool. And we've got the other side, which is a little bit more bone themed. It's kind of horrifying. What is happening here? Is that like a gem or something? Oh, it's it's the red hex over top of like a weird like pustule bone growth thing. I don't know. It's interesting. It's weirding me out a little bit. And here is the other side. Ooh, I like this one. It feels very Nurgle or Skaven, which I like both of those things. And we've got this side, which has a weird worm thing hole in the ground, which is awkward and probably Slaaneshi, honestly. But that is our game board. That is everything that is in the box. I am very excited to be playing this game and actually going through and definitely building up these miniatures. This is something that I'm definitely going to be doing. Like I said, I'm probably going to like end this recording, help with the editing if I can, and then start building these guys because I'm very, very hyped for them. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this unboxing of Warhammer Underworlds Direchasm. I have enjoyed it myself. I am looking forward to getting all this put together and learning this game. Let me know what you guys have thought in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And I will see you guys on next week for another news video, because this is for Monday. So the next video is going to be a news one. I'll see you guys then. I've been Angela. Thanks for watching. Bye.